Hi, this is Brian with CEO Mastery, where we set you and your business up for success so that you can achieve your most ambitious goals. I want to talk with you today about profitability, and there's the hidden profit suckers that are in your business and you can't see them, but we're going to talk today about how you can reveal them and make some decisions to make you more money. Let's start off with the fact that a lot of business owners and CEOs look at the top line. How much growth do we have? What kind of revenues do we have? Because that's a big deal. You know, you figure, hey, the more I'm selling, the more I'm making. And it's not true. The more you're selling, the more work you're doing. That's what sales are. They're work. And we're not in the business of work. We're in the business of profits. We kid around. We say, revenues are bragging rights at the country club. The question is, yeah, okay, great. You have a lot of revenues. How much are you making? And so we need to spend some more time looking at profitability. And the profitability, in order, you can look at your overall profitability, but that's made up by so many different sources of profit. Different customers, some are more profitable than others. Product lines are more profitable than others. Service lines. So it's actually made up of, it's a whole compendium, a collection of profitability within your company. So you need to separate that all out. And you might say to me, hey, Brian, you know what? I have a gross margin analysis broken down by product or service or customer. And if you do, that is awesome. A lot of people don't. If you do, great. That's a big start. The problem is, don't stop there. Don't stop there at all, because that's misleading. You may look at that and say, well, yeah, these customers, for example, all my customers, they have a gross margin of, 45 to 55%. So we're good. But we're not. Because underneath that gross margin, the gross profit on your financial statement or on your analysis of your customer, there are other costs that are lurking. So, for example, a lot of them are selling costs. So you have some customers that require a lot of hand-holding. So that's a cost that you want to allocate to that customer and not to others. That brings the margin down. Maybe you have to do a bunch of sales sheets and to help them sell through. That's a cost. Maybe they have special shipping requirements. They need, overnight all the time. And then if you don't ship it properly, they send it back and you have to do it again. Okay, that is a cost allocated to that customer. What if you have to design new products for them and do a lot of research and development on some products? That's typically below the line. So you need to allocate all those things. And then lo and behold, maybe a 50% margin customer is really only getting you 25%. All right? And where this becomes important is that you have, there's a hurdle rate. By the way, this analysis is also called contribution margin analysis. And because the question is, how much is that, in this case, customer? It could be products or services. How much is this customer contributing to the kind of the fixed overhead, the fixed operating cost, those that cannot be allocated out to products and customers? And you want to know what that is. So you may have a hurdle rate in terms of what those costs are of, 35%. Well, if you have a 50% gross margin customer, but you're actually only getting 25%, well, it's not even covering its share of unallocatable overhead, and it's certainly not adding any profit. So if your profit target is 10 or 15%, you're like, it's not happening. I've seen customers, because I've been doing this for 30 years or more, and with all my clients, and it's always an eye-opener. And I've seen some where, in fact, there was so much cost allocated to them that they were not covering overhead, their share, they were actually losing the money. There's an equipment manufacturer I worked with quite a few years ago. They just dropped some product lines and they made more money. They're doing less work, less revenue, more profit. We were kidding. I was thinking you might as well just send them a check for $1,000 and save yourself a trouble every time, every month. So it can be that dramatic, and it's always an eye-opener. Before I go on, I want to say something about cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold is for products. I don't want to be a stickler here, but honestly, if you're in the services business and your financial statement comes out and there's cost of goods sold in it, ask your CPA or accountant to switch that to cost of sales, because that is the proper terminology. So maybe I'm being a stickler, but that's something to keep in mind. You don't have goods, you have services. So now let's go back to that profitability analysis. When you see that your customer, or maybe it's a product line, is not contributing sufficiently to the fixed unallocatable overhead, then you need to make some adjustments. Well, what are those? Well, first of all, you can go to your customer and you can say, look, I'm not pricing this properly. I need to raise my prices. And if they do, swell. If they don't, I don't know. You can also look at some of those costs. They could be above the line in terms of cost of goods sold or cost of sales, or below the line, but see if you can cut some cost out. Maybe you have to talk to them about cutting down on some services. But somehow you have to get it, honestly, this is a matter, business is a lot about discipline. You have to have the discipline that says, I am not going to work my tail off for little to no profit. And so if I'm not getting it depends on the industry, 5, 10, 15, 25% earnings before taxes, then I'm not doing it. I'm going to spend my time figuring out how to find customers and products that make me a good profit. And yeah, it's easier just to go with low profit initiatives and customers and products, but don't do it. Be disciplined. It pays. It pays. So I have a customer, just to give you a couple of examples. I have a client who is in the marketing services business, and we went through all of this, and he did a great job, by the way, allocating the people and the time they spend on different services. And he discovered that there were some services that were making him, like no money at all. And so he thought, why am I doing this? He went and spoke to his clients, and they said, well, I don't want to be charged more. And he said, fine. So they severed their relationship. And then he found others that were making him really good money. And he said, well, why don't I just keep doing these services for these kinds of customers? And so that's a big strategy move right there. I mean, this analysis should, hopefully, can completely shift your strategy. And if you can have a strategy that focuses on what you do well and where you have good margins with good customers, that's where you need to be. Speaking of strategy, if you're not there, start getting there, because that's where you can be if you apply yourself and focus on it. Anyway, so he in the last year has more than doubled his profit, dollars, and his revenues are either flat or they're up 10% or something. Why? Because he changed the mix. He removed unprofitable customers and he added more profitable customers in service lines that were making him money after having removed service lines that weren't. Other companies in the souvenir business, they sold to very large companies, did very well. They also sold through retail channels. And after we allocated all the selling costs and commissions and everything, and all the extra work it required for shipping and you name it, it was like, why are we doing this? We're basically barely covering our overhead, our fixed operating costs. So let's just do something else, which they did, and it had a spectacular impact on their business. One, because they focused on the good customers and the good products and allowed them to do better with them. What you focus on, happens. And secondly, they got rid of this profit suck part of their business. So you kind of get a double whammy from that. Anyway, the examples are endless. As I mentioned, I've done this for a long time, and I could guarantee you, I'm pretty darn sure that when you do this analysis, you're going to find some really interesting things. You're going to make some changes, and it's going to be a big benefit to you. This is never a disappointment in terms of an exercise. So please go ahead and do it. Click below. I have a handy worksheet that you can use. After you give it a try, email me, set up a call or something. Let's go through it. Let's make some good changes in your business and get you making more money with less work.